welcome to Pivot Talk, brought to you by Known New Haven. I'm your host, Bob Bishop from Apex Growth Coaching and Consulting, where I help organizations accelerate the process of scaling while they enjoy the ride. Thanks for joining us, whether you're on today's live broadcast or watching via replay on Facebook or on YouTube. Today's Pivot Talk is focused on the very timely issue of managing uncertainty. Although this issue has always existed in both our professional and personal lives, it certainly feels like the challenges around uncertainty are multiplying rapidly. So we're going to spend some time exploring decision-making with imperfect information and how we can all develop this important skill. So now I'd like to introduce the co-host of Pivot Talk, Juan Salas Romero. Juan?
Thanks, Bob. Speaking of uncertainty, I'm here on what appears to be the basement, but it's really a background. I'm really in my office, so I'm just pretending. No, glad to be here. Thank you.
Well, it's been a great ride with our Pivot Talks, and if you could take a couple of minutes and for those who are catching this for the first time, give us a little background on the concept and what we've done so far.
Well, Bob, we've been doing this for about since May of last year, and it's been this is the number 11, right? I believe so. We just got 10 shows. So this is a space for exploring what's happening in business, what's happening in terms of the evolving nature of business, how businesses are pivoting. And it was brought because we wanted to bring about this as part of an ecosystem of a co-working space in New Haven, which we opened back in October 2019, and we had to close in March. And there we were in May saying, what can we bring to our community? And this is one of 3 shows that we're producing. We've produced so far about 40 shows altogether, and it's part of the known ecosystem. Of the other 2 shows that shows on the screen, one is the Connection Corner, which is community oriented. The other one is Digital Media Sync. It's what you need to bring your business to the 21st century, so to speak. All the digital tools. And it's part of the, I should talk a little bit about known co-working and all the ecosystem. Known co-working is about bringing spaces, bringing connections, and bringing education to entrepreneurs. And that's the idea of known. And in that sense, we just started, we're just working on our first cohort of knownpreneurs. We have 13 participants on our first cohort. Very excited. It's a program for 4 months. It's going to end in April, and then there's going to be one starting, I think, in June. And it's part of the whole ecosystem of becoming a member of Known and all the connections that you make in New Haven. So I'm excited to be here.
Great, thanks. And it's it's been a good ride, and this has been a great addition, and the full ecosystem has been fun to be involved with, and it's been fun to watch as it's developed. So for today's show, I'd like to, the next step, I would like to introduce Vince Esposito. Vince comes to us from Fair Street Advisors. And Vince, good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon, Bob. Thanks for having me.
We're excited to have you here, and it's with uncertainty, as we were mentioning, is a very interesting topic, and certainly you as a person in the investment world also are involved in a lot of very timely things, and we'll see how much we can jump into as time permits today.
Yeah, sounds good.
Good. So you've been in around the greater New Haven area for a while. Give us a little background of where you've come from and how you've moved and developed over the years.
Sure. Yeah. I won't bore you with all the gory details, but pretty much born and bred in New Haven, and for many generations actually. And my family was in the restaurant business. My grandfather had a diner. My parents owned a deli. So I pretty much grew up in that crazy business and met a lot of really nice people, spent a ton of time in New Haven, graduated from Notre Dame High School. So I still have a lot of great friends from there, and went to Southern, SCSU, baby. So yeah, I've been around New Haven quite a bit and seen what an amazing evolution of New Haven from what it was when I was a youngster growing up there.
Yeah, great. Great. And so tell us a little bit about Fair Street Advisors. Give us a little, there's a lot of people out there. There are a lot of folks who have everything from professional advisors to their favorite uncle who may give them tips and ideas on what to do with their money.
Yeah.
What makes you guys different from the other folks out there?
Yeah, thanks, Bob. So we're a small shop, right? We're an RIA only. We operate as what's called a fiduciary advisor. So really, we put ourselves on the same side of the table as our clients every single day, and I think that's one important distinction. And I would say what I think is super important about us is that because we're a small boutique type firm, we really take the time to get to know our clients and our potential clients to make sure that there's a fit. I'm too old. There's too much gray in this beard for me to work with someone who I don't enjoy working with, and also we feel like we can make a really meaningful impact on their life. Otherwise, we just don't do it.
Great. That's that aligning of core purposes and values and such is really important.
Yeah, super important. Yeah, more and more important as you get older too, as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this day has been crazy days in the market, and it's talking about those guys in suit versus those guys, the meme guys. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I didn't wear a suit today on purpose, Juan.
So you're one of those suit guys who's pretending. I know you. That's why I'm in the basement. I want to be one of the meme guys.
You're right. That's a great background.
I'm ready.
Yeah. No, I'll tell you, it's super interesting, right? I mean, it's just the evolution of the world and of the markets. You can see now that you can get a band of crazy people on a Reddit chat room, and they can make things happen. I think it's great.
That's awesome. So how do you see your role in this this new narrative? Between the big suit guys and then the new millennials, and how's that impacted your business?
Interesting question. I mean, for what we do, Juan, it hasn't really impacted what we do for our clients and our business at all. I mean, I think a big part of the importance of being a professional advisor is to be able to filter out the noise and pay attention to the things that matter, right? So I don't know how closely you followed it, but you had that week where GameStop goes from whatever to $500, right? People are going absolutely bananas. I mean, my mom, who's more worried about her meatballs on a Sunday, asked me about GameStop. And so everybody knew about it.
There you go. We have it in the screen. So, Vince, I imagine that for your clients, January 4th came and you started making phone calls to your clients and said, why don't you guys come in? I got a great deal here. GameStop, $1.2 billion valuation. I think it's going to double this year. And next thing you know, in a matter of a few weeks, GameStop is 20 times the size or 25 times the size. And all of a sudden today is only 3 times the size.
Right.
So, wow, that's amazing.
It is. It is amazing. And it's just, it goes to show you that there's a lot of risk in short selling. We can touch on some of that, but I mean, when things are crowded, right? When things look easy, and no one really knew about GameStop before that, but if you're in this world, you can see where the crowded trades are. So when you look at these stocks where everybody's betting in one direction or the other, things can change very, very quickly.
Wow. And speaking of change, tell us, I mean, usually when we have a business here, we're interviewing the business, we like to see what changed in March of last year or April of last year when you had to pivot, somehow your business. How was it in your space, investment advisors? Did you see some need to pivot your business as a consequence of COVID?
Some need to what? I'm sorry.
To pivot your business as a consequence of
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a few different things going on there. I mean, we obviously, as an active manager, there was a ton to do, right? I felt like I was literally glued to this chair from the end of February until today. I've just been here. So lots to do, but what changed, and you know, a lot more than usual. But what changed for us is the way we communicated with clients. Like I like meeting with my clients and having them into the office and going out for coffee and lunch and doing all that stuff. You know, that just all stopped.
Right.
But that didn't mean the level of communication didn't continue, or actually we stepped up our level of communication like this, online, emails, calls, you know, literally just making sure that everybody knew what was going on with their accounts here. And then also, I mean, some of our clients have been clients for, you know, a couple of decades, just making sure everybody was cool.
Has it been positive, or do you think that there's something that you had before that you're missing?
I mean, I'm an optimist, Juan. I like to focus on the upside. And we're lucky to have deep relationships with our clients and with a lot of local business people. Our clients are mostly entrepreneurs. So it did have a positive impact on our business. But also, I think aside from all the really bad things that COVID brought to us as a culture, there was a lot of upside, right? I mean, for me anyways, I spent a lot of time with my family. I enjoyed it. And I don't know how they enjoyed it, but.
Yeah, well, I'm actually here in the basement, which is funny. Around 2:30, you'll see a couple of kids running down the basement. I hope it doesn't happen, but I'm just preventing you. Those are the pleasures, enjoying the family. But right. I'm glad everybody now. I guess everybody expects a few things like that happen sometimes.
For sure.
From time to time.
It is a change. I actually, as my warning here, there was some serious tree work being done across the street about an hour ago that has stopped for now, but I don't know if that's going to change. So I may need to be doing a little bit more muting during the conversation than normal. But that's, as Juan mentioned, that's just the changes that we've gotten used to.
Yeah, I think we've all, right. And even with our kids, I mean, we have my son's in college, my daughter's home, she's in high school. It's like, they get used to doing their thing online too. I mean, everybody's just gotten used to the way of doing things.
Right, exactly. So, so I'd like to move on and think about and start to talk about this the issue of managing uncertainty, thinking about the challenges of dealing with imperfect information and still having to move forward. And a guy that I respect and helps me a lot with thinking about what to read suggested that I read a book called The Biggest Bluff a couple of months ago, and I've just started it. Thanks, Vince. Just started it a week ago, and it's a very interesting book that basically uses the framework of Texas Hold'em poker to talk about how humans process information and make decisions, and how in many cases we're not very good at it. It's not very natural. And it's very intriguing, and I look forward to continue to dig into it. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. I mean, it's what a great book, and it gives you such an interesting perspective on not only on Texas Hold'em poker, but just on life in general. Right. So as humans, we're not really good with percentages. A lot of times we think a decision is either black or white. It's going to be 100%. It's awesome, or it sucks. And the reality of it is it's usually some sort of a percentage there, right? I mean, how sure are you about a decision you're making? Are you 80% sure? Are you 70% sure? 90, 10? So that book got me thinking about that a lot, and doing what I do for a living. I mean, I do this all the time, but that book really brought some things into focus for me with that.
Yeah, I really like the concept of thinking about what the elements of a successful decision are. Right? There's certainly making a good decision or trying to make as good a decision as you possibly can. But then, luck is certainly a factor, right? There's outside factors. There's things that you didn't know, whether we call them luck or whatever we want to call them, that that also have a big effect and can sometimes skew our perception of how good that decision was. And so that's that's an interesting piece of this.
Yeah. So professional poker players call it resulting, right? So we, again, as human beings, focus on the result. If we make a decision and it turns out well, we're like, wow, that was a great decision. But if we make a decision and it doesn't go our way, we're like, wow, that was a really crappy decision. And that's focusing on the result. But the reality of it is, and that's a good point, Bob, is that if you can bring it more into the world of, I'm going to focus on a process to make good decisions. And luck is going to come into play, right? You can't help it. And that might be part of the result. But over the long haul, if you can focus on that decision-making part of the deal and do a good job of that every single time, you'll make better decisions over the span of your business, your life, a poker tournament, whatever.
Yeah, and it's a full circle, right? As Jim Collins talks about the concept of return on luck, that the companies who really do well, who are the 10x companies he would use as the comparison group, they have a very strong return on luck, right? Is they can take a situation, a good luck situation, and really leverage it, or a bad luck situation and maybe have a couple of different options to get them out of it. And those are the organizations that thrive. Whereas a lot of folks will say, well, that was very good. You did well because you were very lucky. You had very good luck, or you did poorly because you had very bad luck. But the reality is, most organizations and most people will get a full spectrum of luck events in their lifetime, and it's just a matter of how you manage it.
For sure. And one thing too that I think about all the time that was in that book, and you just touched on it, Bob, it's with ourselves, right? It's not good luck. It's me. Like the reason why things worked out well is because I made a good decision in my own mind. But then when I see someone else make a good decision, I'm like, look at Bob. He's a good looking guy. He's doing this. Of course things work out well for Bob, right? So, I think if you focus more on what we're discussing here, and it gives you the ability to have more compassion for yourself when luck comes into play, when bad luck comes into play, right? And more compassion for other people as well, because there's that little piece that we just don't like to talk about, but it comes into play an awful lot.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Now, so how do you see this applying in specifically in your world of investing, and how does thinking about this maybe change how you might go about things going forward?
Yeah. So I feel like I've been managing money as a professional since '94. I mean, it's all I've ever done. Graduated school, started doing various things in the money management world. So to me, it's a constant evolution of our investment process with myself and my team. What comes into play for me, Bob, is that by not getting hung up on when things don't go our way, and just focusing on making good decisions no matter what, and being able to recover from, because if we decide we want to have exposure to a certain part of the market, like maybe we'd short GameStop. I don't know. We didn't, thank God, but a lot of hedge funds did. A lot of really smart Ivy League educated people got caught shorting GameStop. I'm sure their thesis was very, very well thought out and very good, but they need to dust themselves off and get up and figure it out. And I think being able to think of things in the light of the biggest bluff kind of helps you do that. So
we have a question actually that kind of will divert a little bit here, but okay. Question came up asking, how does someone get started in investing? The statement says young people right now go to apps. Is that a detrimental way, or are there better ways to enter into this area?
Oh, I mean, I'm totally biased. I mean, I think if it's not your full-time job, you should delegate that. You should outsource that. Hire somebody you know and trust that you know is going to do right by you, and let them do it.
Okay, and actually I have a follow-up question. It looks like, how does one get educated as a young layperson from a simple app to understanding what kind of questions to ask and how on top of things they need to be? So just I guess in general, what's the process of getting enough education? I guess I would go back to thinking about what we talked about at the beginning of the show here. Right? There's such a large number of people who call themselves investment advisors. If I was just starting, I wouldn't even know how to start to filter.
Yeah. I mean, I think, ask around, right? I mean, we get a lot of our business from referrals from other clients and other professionals. So I would start with your inner circle and find out who knows who and who's worked with someone that's done a good job for them. And then I would go ahead and, try to work with someone who has your best interests at heart. You look for a fiduciary advisor, not somebody who's slinging products at you.
Okay.
It's a good start.
Yep.
Bob, I'm kind of intrigued about that whole process of decision making. I don't know if Vince, could you elaborate on that process of dealing with uncertainty and, as leaders, dealing with uncertainty these days, which we have an abundance of that. Could you describe the process? How do you what is this systematic process, so to speak, that you go through in eliminating the noise, so to speak, just to use one word to use here?
Yeah, it's a great question, Juan. So if you think about what first of all, like globally, what is a process? What makes for a good decision making tool, right? And a lot of people say, "Oh, I just go by my gut." Okay, how does that work? Well, I mean, it's how I feel. No, going by your gut is not a process. A process needs to be something that you can teach to somebody else, right? So I think that's first and foremost. After that, I think a good way to do it is to focus on all the known things that are going on in your decision.
I like that word, by the way.
It's pretty cool, right?
All the known.
All the known knowns, if you will.
Yep.
So, and you need to do that before you know the result. And I want you guys to think about that for a second, because once you know the result, Juan, of your decision, that casts a really big shadow on the process you use to make that decision.
Okay.
So you need to do this before you actually know what happened. So when you're in it, you want to write things down that you already know. And I created a tool that I like to use, and I got it from this book that I'm currently reading called How to Decide by Annie Duke. And she's another professional poker player, but this is an awesome book. It's got a lot of really good tools in it. So yeah, if you guys want to pop that up, and I guess we can, cool. Thank you. We can go over it really quickly, Juan. So basically, I just use taking a job in another city as an example, because it's an easy one. And this would be before you actually took the job in Seattle. You would go ahead and use this tool to rank all these things based on up at the top. You want your most desirable outcome, and then you rank them in order to your least desirable outcome. So the first one being, you take the job in Seattle, you love the city, you love the weather, you don't mind the rain, and then you rank that as a real possibility, right? That's why you're going to take this job, because you think this outcome is a real possibility. And then you write down all the other outcomes that you think are probable, and then you put one or two in there that you think or a slim chance or a very low probability, because it can happen. And whatever happens when you take this job or whatever decision you're working on, you can use this to go back to.
What are you using to? What are you do as you do this? And I see what you're doing there. So you're saying, okay, there are 5, 6 possible outcomes. Are you allocating percentages for each one of those things to occur at that point? And why? What tools do you use to allocate those percentages?
Yeah. So you can use percentages, or just use words like I did here, if you don't want to put a percentage on it. And there's no specific tool, Juan. It's based on the information that you know about that decision. So there's a lot of different inputs that go on, right? You know certain things about the job. You know what you like to do. You know how you feel about the weather. You know you like living in a big city, and the list goes on and on. And then you just pop them in here based on your past experiences and what you know about everything, and you rank them.
Mm-hmm.
But here's where it gets interesting. You move to Seattle. You hate it. You can't do it, man. You miss Bob. You miss New Haven. You last 6 months and you move home. And you had that as a really low probability event, right? You're way the hell down here on that. Very low probability. And you move home and you just you're hard on yourself, right? I should have known I would hate this freaking job. And then all your friends are going to tell you too. I knew it, Juan. I told you. I knew you weren't going to like it out there. You hate the rain. And the reality of it is none of these people would have told you that. And you yourself didn't even know that. It just happened. You moved there. Your boss was a jerk. Somebody that lived upstairs from you was, always playing loud music at night. You like to go to bed early. Like, it was just bad luck and a few other things, and it didn't work out. So by going back to this thing, you can really say to yourself, you know what? Didn't work out, but I made a good decision. I made a decent call, and I'm just going to dust myself off and move on here, because I have the ability to make another good decision. And I'll say, luck looms large in the short run, right? Anything can happen in the short run, but over long periods of time, good decision-making will serve you well.
Mm-hmm. And I guess the other question when something happens like that is, reflect on, could I have, so I see all the different scenarios, and it became the worst case scenario that happened. And I guess the obvious question is, why did that happen? And, why did I not see that was a higher probability than what I saw initially? And what do I need to do next time to get maybe more information to improve the outcome? Would that be like the logical step?
Dude, that's killing it right there. You're crushing it. That's exactly what this is about.
I had some setbacks in life and I had to recover, so I know about that.
Yeah, I heard about you, man. I know you. Right? I mean, that's why guys like you are successful.
The life of an entrepreneur.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
But at least it gives you a framework for, if you're not used to, like us as entrepreneurs, right? We're used to getting our ass kicked and dusting ourselves off and just coming back at it. But if you're not used to that, this could be a really helpful exercise. If you've never done it before, and then you can flip back in your notebook and be like, wow, it wasn't as bad as I thought. Or you might be like, well, thank God that worked out well, because that was a crappy decision. There's that too.
Right.
I've done
that's
that.
Interesting. That's interesting. It kind of reminds me of the whole concept of metacognition, which is really the concept of improving the processes, so that you get to a better outcome at the end.
Yeah.
And it's definitely something that we need to train our mind to work through processes, like you said, and not results.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And like you said, it has to be something that you can teach others. And at that point, then you say, okay, I definitely have a measuring tool or sorts that I could teach others. How do I get to that result, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's just like, again, back to like I go with my gut thing, especially doing what I do. I always have people now, it's been a lot lately, right? Giving me stock tips and telling me how to do this, that, or the other thing because they have a feeling about something or whatever. And it's like, you just,
what do? You
can't.
Just flip a coin. Just flip
Right.
a coin.
That's it. Yeah, you're going to have to go by your gut. You might as well just flip a coin, So, and one other thing about having this process, you guys, that I think is important to mention, it really helps you filter out the garbage. And just recently, and my wife makes fun of me for this stuff, right? But I over the last weekend, I'm reading these Reddit boards and I'm trolling Twitter for short squeeze and silver short squeeze and GameStop stuff and whatever. And there were all these, I don't know if they were bots or people just trying to get your attention talking about Armageddon. Man, this thing's going to bring the market down. The market's going to crash. Like if I listened to that crap, and I would have come in on Monday and just hit the sell button for everybody.
Oh my God! Yeah. Oh my God. Well,
yeah, I think the other interesting thing with that, Vince, is I've also seen people that framework of laying out your the potential choices and putting some likelihoods to them can be a great way to help people who are even stuck on the decision-making process. Sometimes you can be so worried about the unknowns that if you lay them out, what could happen, and take a look at the two worst possible scenarios and think about, okay, well, if that does happen, what are the results, and do I have any way to mitigate that, and really look at the full picture of what's going on. I think that a lot of people, to your point, really love that. I guess the gut feeling concept, or coin flipping even, is fast, but it doesn't, spending a little time to be thorough would really be helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, especially I'm sure doing what you do, right? Helping coaching people and stuff like that. I mean, the unknown is like when you first think about the unknowns, it seems so daunting. Like, oh man, it's just this thing out there. But then if you reflect on it, most of the time, something, right? You at least have a range of possibilities that you think can happen. It's not like completely unknown most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Vince, we can't leave the program, Bob, with Vince really telling us what is the 3 favorite stocks that are going to double this year. Please.
Well, I'm going to have to hit you after hours on that. My compliance.
Oh come on.
If I say it.
He's charging by the hour. That's the thing.
They will freak out. But
how about giving us, for those of us who don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about short selling and some of the complexities that happen, could you give us a quick synopsis of what this was all about, and I guess the second side of it is should those of us that are invested through either 401ks or some other things be concerned? What is it that we need to understand about all of this craziness?
Yeah. Sure, Bob. So short selling, I'll say, in and of itself is a risky proposition, right? It's not for amateurs. So I'll say that first and foremost. And so what happens is when short selling means you're betting on a stock to go down in value and to profit off of that. And what happened with the GameStop thing is that there were so many people that were making that bet that as soon as people started buying GameStop and they figured out there were all these short sellers in there, the short sellers got kind of caught having to do things they didn't want to do, buy the stock back in essence. And so you've got two things happening. You've got the short sellers have to buy back, and then you've got the buyers continuing to buy, and it just kind of feeds on itself. So bottom line, I would say stay away from short selling, especially in a bull market, which is what we have right now. Market's going up. Don't try to, be a hero and just sell stocks short and profit off them going down. 401k stuff. Does that answer that question, Bob?
Yes, and that's helpful. And then I guess just whether it's 401k or I guess those of us who passively, I guess, invest, are
Yeah.
there things about which we should be concerned?
I mean, there's always something to be concerned about, right? But right now, there's a lot of good things happening. So without again, for compliance reasons, I can't get into too much detail. But I would say for us as a firm and our investment style and what we're doing is we're about as bullish as we've been in years. Right? And Bob, you and I talk about this pretty regularly. There's a lot of good things happening, right? We're coming out of the pandemic. Um, company earnings are beating earnings, up by a wide margin right now, because you're comparing earnings from a year ago, and a year ago was absolutely horrendous, right? So the first quarter of 2020 was terrible. The second quarter was worse. The third quarter was terrible. So you fast forward to now, and what companies and markets care about is how do the numbers look versus last year? Rate of change stuff, comparable stuff. For most industries, it's going to look awesome. Like our growth here in this country, United States of America, GDP is probably going to be double digits for the first time since right after World War II.
Wow.
It's going to be killer.
Wow.
That doesn't mean, bet the farm on stupid things. But I would say again, you see, either do your own due diligence and figure out what works for you in your situation, or find a professional that you trust that can help you, put your money in the right place.
Great, thanks. And we have actually one other question from a viewer here. I'll just read. What are your thoughts on the sheer amount of information out there that people aren't sure how that makes it difficult for people to make the right decision?
Yeah. Oof, that's a tough one, but I'll go back to the biggest bluff. So Eric Seidel, who's a professional poker player, the guy that the woman, Maria Konnikova, hired to help her learn how to play poker. His thing was pay attention. Pay attention to the particular things that matter at a particular time. Right. So not all that information matters to what you're trying to do. There's so much garbage and noise out there, but focus on a few things that really matter in that situation, and just let the rest of it just go. You got to just make the call. It's never going to be perfect.
Well, thanks. Thanks. Well, we're getting to our last few minutes. Juan, any last thoughts or questions?
Okay, and then we look at the stocks. Vince, you're gonna send us just send me a text with your 3 favorite ones.
Okay.
So this is the part of the program where we just recap on what we're doing at Known, and I think what we got going on, like I said, it's a cohort for our first cohort of Knownpreneurs, and you could go to our website nhvknown.com. And we should be running applications for our next entrepreneurship program, like in April. And always, if you visit the website, you have access to all the programs that we put together, including this one. And you also, if you need a space to work other than home, and you want to escape work from home, and you are around New Haven, I recommend that you visit us. For a tour, and we got all kinds of plans. Dedicated desk, office space, flexible memberships, all kinds of things. So it's as flexible as you can. Even if you want to spend a couple hours doing Zoom calls, we got Zoom booth. I mean, you name it. So I think this is the sign of times. It's all about flexibility and connections, and that's what we're here for. And so I don't know. Am I missing anything, Bob? What do you got going on?
I think that covers the specific things happening within Known.
Yep.
As far as what we're discussing here, again, those of you who are watching us, again, either live or in delay, feel free to reach out to us if you have a person or organization that you think would be a good Pivot Talk guest. Also, we do have, as Juan mentioned, we have a lot of resources for businesses and leaders to help them move forward and make connections and get training. We feel free to reach out to us there as well. We've got a lot of things going on. So with that, I think we're close to wrapping up. I want to thank Vince for joining us today. It was a very interesting topic, and it was great stuff.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
And thanks.
Thank you.
And thanks to everyone for joining us. And we'll have another Pivot Talk again in March, and look forward to seeing everyone then. So until then, have a great month of February, and we'll see you later.